So let's go over a P&L real quick because that's what people are going to start looking at. Right now, they're probably experienced with buying a mat is going to be looking at biz buy sell or something like that. And they're seeing them listed at multiples of revenue. Some are going to be listed at a 3x, some of them are going to be listed at a 5x, some of them are going to be listed at a freaking 7x. You're like, what the heck's going on here? And so walk us through when somebody that's like new to analyzing businesses, they're looking at this P&L and what can they take at face value? What should they dig into? And then what are red flags? Because I know it's like one of them, you can look at the lease, you can look at the equipment. You're like, okay, what brands are these Dexters or these Speed Queens going on here? What's the age of the equipment? What are you digging into in a P&L? And then what do you rip it apart to justify your offer? When you can say, hey, I looked over this. You're listed at a 4X. I'm going to offer a 3X, and here's why.
Number one is the lease. I say it again. The lease is extremely important. I see people make the landlord fat while working tirelessly and never make a profit. And I don't want to see you do that. So the lease is extremely important. So I like to be around no more than $20 a square foot. So anything greater than $20 a square foot is a red flag. Okay, if they're paying, let's use a 3,000 square foot store for illustration, times $20 is $60,000 a month. I'm at $60,000 a year. So that would be as much as I would want to pay, which is $5,000 a month. You want to keep your rent at about 15 to 20% of your revenue. If it exceeds that, it cuts into your profit big time. Hunting and finding a good lease. One of the things to value a laundromat also, if I can go up the street and rent a place for $15 a square foot, but this gentleman who's got a laundry is trying to sell me the laundry and the lease is 20 square foot, I might as well just go up the street and put a laundry there. You're buying the lease when you get a laundry. So if it has no term left on the lease, you can just call the landlord and try to get a 10-year lease. He may sign up with you and you don't have to purchase the laundromat. I always like to approach the owner first, but if we can contact these landlords and get leases where there's leases have expired, because a laundromat that is for sale with a month-to-month lease, they got nothing. That's why it's so important to protect your renewals once you become a laundromat owner. And that's what I help all my guys do to make sure we're checking that out. Yeah, the lease. Second is location and real estate location in the laundromat. What is the potential of that site? So I like to run the demographics, and I like for there to at least be 10,000 people in a 1 mile radius and 20,000 in a 2 mile radius. These are just rough numbers. Some rural markets that might not meet that. Those are just some small criteria that I have for the guys that call me around here and for our stores as well. And then what I like to see is at least a 50% rent ratio. Anything better than that, say there's 5,000 households within that 1 mile, I want to see that at least 2,500 of those households are renter occupied households. Any more is great, but if it's less than 50%, it's a red flag because you don't know the potential. Also on the P&L is labor. Oftentimes they leave that out because they pay their attendants in under the table, all sorts of things I see in the laundromat business. So that's one other thing to look at. And then terms of your lease. We're an anchor tenant. We cannot move across the street like a shoe store or whatnot. We're an anchor tenant. We need to sell ourselves to the landlord as such, and we need to sign leases as such, meaning I typically do 5 years with 3 5-year options, or either 10 years up front with 2 5-year options. But I like to lock it down for 20 years. That way I have peace of mind. For that new person that's, man, I'm going to have to sign a guarantee for that first 5 years. Yeah, you are. There's a few ways to avoid that, put up some collateral or something, but you've got to believe in your business and you got to be signing a lease that makes sense for you as the business owner. Always make a financial decision. Do not make an emotional decision with the laundromat thing, and do not listen to anyone who has incentive in selling you equipment. The way the laundromat industry works is we have manufacturers, the Speed Queens, the Dexters, then we have distributors. Distributors sell the brands in certain areas, and there's a lot of great ones out there, but there's also distributors who take advantage of especially newbies in telling them about new projects as well as selling them on equipment that they don't need. But when you're acquiring, just like real estate, you make your money when you buy. So you don't want to overspend. Be okay walking away from that deal. I know you know the same in real estate. It's don't get emotional. The numbers don't make sense. They don't make sense. I've seen and helped after the fact. I've helped a lady I'm thinking of who lost her whole retirement because she bought a business and retooled the whole thing, and it was in an area that just didn't justify the investment and the people weren't there. Yeah, so make sure that it's the right location, and to do that, I gave you some minimums: 10,000 feet, 1 mile, 20,000 in a 2 mile. That's most likely where you're going to be pulling from. And so also P&L, let's see whether the owner is showing what they're paying themselves, because they create a multiple a lot of times of without showing what they were taking home.
What they're taking, yeah.
Yeah, so they're not considering that into the fact and how much time they're actually spending there. Because when you do your pro forma for your P&L, when you take it over, you're going to have to put in there, the pay of the staff that you hire. So we run 10 hours a day attended, and then we run partially attended. Basically, it's a partially attended model. So our average store manager makes about, $15 an hour, which is pretty good. But they're full time, and we want them to stay with us. So the metrics of one location are much different than 3 and 4. I always tell my coaching clients, and I'll tell you want to get $1 million to $1 million in revenue as fast as possible. That's going to be 3 to 4 good stores, really good stores. So if we can get the 3 to 4 good stores, have $1 million in revenue, we can hire a regional manager to handle a lot of day-to-day operations for us. What does that regional manager look like? He used to work for an HVAC company that drove him in the ground, or a plumber. If you're not technically inclined, you're going to have to hire somebody who is and pay that person. If you are, that's definitely a plus, because it is a mechanic's business. You've got water coming in and water going out. We're basically reselling utilities through washers and dryers. So it's not very complicated if you can simplify it and then concentrate on the self-service customer first. And then if you want to grow into the wash, dry, fold, or pick up and delivery, you do that later.